We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone, she did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you. Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, a place for insightful conversations about building sustainable schools of excellence. Join me each week as we explore the importance of leading with your values, creating impact, and leaving a lasting legacy. My goal on the show is to provide you with clarity, elevate your mindset, and equip you with practical strategies and inspiration. I'm Chanie, a proud mother of 4, a former New Yorker, now savoring sunny Florida vibes. With a professional journey spanning 18 years across all levels of school leadership, I bring nuanced insight that delve into the intricate details of running a center, as well as the broader visionary aspects of leadership. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. Let's build a legacy of excellence together. Hello there. Welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. We are in part 3 of our 3-part series of Winning in the Dark. So I want to do a quick recap for you all. So we started our series on winning in the dark in the context of enoughness and worthiness. Last week, we spoke about winning in the dark in the context of the comparison trap. And today, we are going to dive into winning in the dark, specifically around shame and anger. Unearth a lot of stories of endurance, strength that really remains unseen the vast majority of the time when you're navigating shame and anger. And we'll also really dive into some of the complexities of leadership in the face of these sometimes really challenging emotions. So shame is often veiled in silence, and it could be a heavy burden for school, often the weight of difficult decisions, and leaders really have to grapple with the shame and the strategies that they need around what it looks like to win in the dark without succumbing to these challenging emotions. So where does shame come out a lot in school leadership? I'm going to share a couple of these, and then I have really a very specific story to tell you around shame. So I find shame comes up the most in feelings of overwhelm and burnt out. Leaders that experience feelings of burnt out leads to feeling of inadequacy, which leads to the shame. And a lot of the reason why leaders feel shame when they're burnt out is, I find specifically now in this new era of leadership in 2024, the pandemic and the post-pandemic era created a lot of toxic resilience. It's one of the reasons why you don't hear me use the word resilience a lot on my podcast or in our messaging, because I believe it's been overused and it's become a little bit toxic. We are in the beginning of the pandemic, we heard a lot of messaging around we're resilient, we can get through this, kids are resilient, they'll bounce back from this. And it's almost become this notion where it's like, well, you're resilient, so you should go do this, hard thing again and again and again. And we have forgotten about the humanity and a little bit of the just life that exists while we were doing some of those really hard things. And so because we heard so much messaging around what it means to be resilient, what it means to bounce back, what it means to keep going, keep calm and carry on, I know because leaders work with me in private also. We have premier coaching options where I work with private clients, and our legacy group clients can message me privately, and owners, like clients will message me privately. But also when I go speak on stages or I go speak at events and people will pull me up on the side, school leaders are very ashamed of their feelings of feeling burnt out, of feeling like, I remember I spoke with a leader and she's like, I need to take a nap like every day. I'm so tired. And she feels inadequate. She feels lazy. She feels like a pansy. She feels like I shouldn't feel like this. Like, why am I so tired? Why am I so burnt out? Why is this so difficult for me? And they're feeling a lot of shame. And that goes back to the previous episode around comparison, where they're shaming themselves that they can't do as much, or they can't push as hard, or they can't do X, Y, and Z because they're just so exhausted and they just can't push that way anymore. Or it's not that they feel exhausted, is they have overcome a particular season of burnout. And this is a lot of leaders that I work with as well, where 2023 was really the season where they were like, I'm done. I'm not working like this anymore. Like, I need breaks. I need mental space. I don't want to be working all the time. I want time to relax. I want more frequent vacations. I want restoration. I want rejuvenation. I don't want more information all the time. I also want just time to connect with people and fuel my soul. And so a lot of leaders have committed in 2024 to doing less. That doesn't mean that they're not feeling the shame around doing less. And so feelings of burnout really fuel the feeling of shame. And the thing about shame is it thrives off of loneliness. It thrives off of the quiet. And so many of us are dealing with shame in the shadows. It lurks in the shadows. And what it means to win in the dark around shame is actually to take the shame and say, you're not going to stay in the dark, and actually to put bright lights on you and invite someone else to share this with me. I'm going to lean onto community. I'm going to reach out to a mentor. I'm not going to do this alone. So we go out into the public forum and we present ourselves a certain way, but behind the scenes, we're feeling shame, burnout, inadequacy, all of those feelings. And we present one area in the bright lights, and then in the dark, we experience all these emotions. But you can't win shame in the dark. The way that you win shame in the quiet, without telling everyone like, oh, I'm fighting a shame cycle, right? Or I'm feeling really shamed. And no one needs to know that you're fighting the shame gremlins. Who does need to know is your close network, is your support system. And who is your support system? It's not the public media. It's not the masses. One person, maybe two people. So winning in the dark around shame is actually very different than these other emotions, because shame thrives off of secrecy. And we want to shine the bright light on the shame itself so that we stop masking it and masking it and masking it and feeling like we have to continue to power through. We have to be resilient. We have to keep calm and carry on. No. What are you feeling? What are you actually experiencing? And if you're feeling shame coupled with that emotion, then let's have a conversation. Reach out to a support network. And if you don't have one, the Directors Inner Circle, our Owners HQ program, Schools of Excellence, it's a great community and it might be a good fit for you. It might be the community that you've been looking for. Where else does shame show up? Challenges in implementing change. So a lot of leaders have a lot of difficulty in successfully implementing different change initiatives or growth initiatives. And they feel very ashamed that they can't bring about concrete or lasting change in their company. So I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with an owner. She's opening up a second location, and she feels like she keeps starting and stopping. And I asked her, like, in what context are you talking about? And she had shared that she creates these policies and she implements them, but then, she'll get some pushback from a member of her leadership team or someone from the admin team or a teacher. And then she'll be like, oh, okay, we have to change the policy. And then she'll change the policy. And then she has to start all over again. And when I was on the call with her, I asked her, I said, what is it making you feel like? She's like, I feel so ashamed that I can't be consistent. I feel so ashamed that anytime I implement something, I back out or I talk myself out of it or I let other people talk me out of it. Like, I feel so ashamed that I cannot implement consistent, sustainable change in my organization, even though I know that this is like so important for my company and I know it's the right thing to do. So we spoke about that for a while, and I gave her a couple of suggestions. She ended up joining our Owners HQ program, and we're supporting her inside of the program now, which is amazing. The ability to consistently implement growth initiatives or policy changes is a really important skill. And it stems from the opposite of shame, which is the self-trust, which is the all-knowing, which is connecting to your own worthiness and enoughness, right? And so these are, I would say, some of the top places that I find shame really, really creeping up itself on a consistent basis in school leadership, no matter where your position in leadership. So I want to tell you a story of Alexa and just how she had this journey of a lot of controversy in her childcare facility. And then throughout the story, you'll really see just so many different moments of where she chose to win in the dark instead of being overcome by shame and self-doubt and so many other things. So Alexa ran this really quaint preschool in this very charming little town. And she was a seasoned leader. And she had really worked hard at creating this community known for its close-knit nature. All the parents got along with each other really well. It was like one of those real small town vibes. And Alexa had made a controversial decision regarding the preschool curriculum, and it had kind of thrown the entire community into chaos. So just to give you a little bit of context, the preschool was a really progressive, child-centric approach to education. They were mainly Reggio-inspired, but also had just kind of other inspirations as well. And the school had really been a source of pride for the community. And so Alexa's decision to implement this new curriculum really sparked a very passionate debate amongst the parents, the teachers, and a lot of other community members. And the controversy had not only reached local news, but it also stirred a ton of emotion on social media platforms. You see, this is one of the things of small towns. It's like something happens and like local news picks it up, right? Because it's like big news, something's going on over here, right? We have something to report about, right? That wouldn't happen in New York City. And so it stirred a lot of emotions on social media platforms, and you had these strong opinions on both sides of the spectrum. And Alexa was really feeling a lot of palpable shame, and it was really threatening her leadership because as the controversy escalated, Alexa was like torn with these emotions of shame because the community that she had created, which was so accustomed to unity and cohesion, was really fractured now. Parents were questioning her leadership and her ability to actually honor the school's curriculum and their Reggio-inspired vision. This once trusting relationship between educators and families was super strained. And the shame that Alexa was feeling was really undermining not only her position, but also the very essence of the harmonious atmosphere that she had really created. And Alexa really wanted to hide. Well, she didn't want to hide. She was hiding. And she had pinged me privately and she's like, I am going through hell. I need to talk to you. And I jumped on a call with her and, she gave me the rundown of what was going on. And so this phone call was really about Alexa facing this really crucial decision. She was either going to succumb to the shame and retreat into secrecy, or she was going to confront the situation with transparency and vulnerability. And the call that I had with her was that crossroads, right? Where I coached her and asked her questions and held the space for her to choose where she was going to go. And, really recognizing the gravity of this moment where she really had the option to choose. She chose the path less traveled, and she really decided to address the community directly, not through intermediaries, not through a press release, but really in person. And so after our coaching call that I had with her, she had decided that she wanted to create a gathering, kind of like a town hall style. Again, this is like small town, right? So she had the preschool gymnasium. She brought the parents and the teachers, the community, everyone gathered together, and she stood in front of everyone. And later when she had recounted to me what happened, she's like, I had this combination of like determination and humility where I was like vacillating between those emotions. And she really started off by acknowledging the controversy and the divide within the community and how everyone felt very strongly a little bit about this curriculum and about the values of this. And then she really dove into the rationale behind the curriculum changes and really explaining the principles and the research of her informed decision and why she had made certain changes. After the town hall meeting, she really didn't shy away from admitting well, actually, this is not after. This is like during a town hall meeting. She took the time also to not shy away from admitting that her implementation process had some flaws and that she acknowledged that there was a lot of unintended consequences that strained relationships. And she took responsibility for how she implemented it and what she would do differently next time and what, she felt she could have done differently. And she really emphasized that she had missed the opportunity to create collaboration and open communication when she was bringing about this new change into the curriculum. She kept herself open and available for parents, for teachers, for all the things. And the act of vulnerability of bringing this all together, it really created a leader that people can lean on, right? Instead of a faceless decision maker, Alexa became a leader who was acknowledged, and she had acknowledged her mistakes. She listened to concerns. She committed to the collaborative decision making in the future. And while so many parents and the teachers were so skeptical and very critical of everything in the beginning, they really, really saw Alexa as a leader instead of an adversary. And they started to really view her as someone who prioritized their best interests. But she still had a long way to go, right? She had to rebuild trust because trust was fractured. And it wasn't just she had to rebuild the trust with all these people. She had to rebuild the trust with herself. She was so ashamed by what she did because she's like, I pride myself as someone who chooses collaboration and commitment and all these things. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it this time. And she was so ashamed. She was eating herself up about it. And I said, part of building trust and the follow-up call that I had with her is you need to rebuild the trust that you have with yourself. And so she took a lot of steps to trust building with herself and learning how to be grace, give herself grace for the mistake and being kind to herself and not feeding the shame bully. She organized community forums for parents to express their concerns and suggestions. She initiated collaborative process for the development of the curriculum and other community members. And so slowly but surely, she started to see the community heal again and the fractures begin to mend itself. And her own shame journey took actually a lot longer. The community really came back together pretty quickly in the weeks after. It took her a lot of time to recover from that shame. And she didn't even realize the kind of tentacles that came out of that and how it just seeped into so many other areas. And anytime I was on a coaching call with her, I was messaging her. My job in that relationship with her was helping her rebuild the trust in herself because the shame had completely overpowered it. And so again, over time, the controversy that had really threatened the entire preschool's reputation really transformed into opportunity of growth and improvement. And more than anything, it's the transparency and the vulnerability that Alexa really displayed. It didn't only salvage her leadership, but it reinforced the company values of openness, of collaboration within the community. And so for those of you that are listening, I'm sure there are parts of this story that you can resonate with. Maybe it wasn't, this exact context of a curriculum. Maybe there were other things. And I want to invite you to really pause and reflect and say, where were there moments where I made decisions inside of the company that I was ashamed of? And what does it mean to win in the dark around shame? Where do I need to rebuild my self-trust? Where do I need to stop shaming myself around this? That's what it means to win in the dark around shame. Don't let shame win. You need to win. Another emotion I want to tie into here is anger, because managing anger and frustration as a school leader is crucial for maintaining effective leadership, right? Winning in the dark in this context really involves finding constructive ways to address and resolve issues without letting anger negatively impact relationships, right? So I always talk about let your anger speak to you because your anger doesn't lie. I remember one time I had a long conversation with my own therapist. This is going back several years ago. And I was talking about how I was really pissed off about something. And then I kept saying to myself that I was really upset at myself for being angry. And it was a very interesting dialogue, how she was kind of holding the container for me. But one of the things she said that I will always remember was she said, your anger doesn't lie. Your anger will always tell you the truth. Your people pleasing will always bullshit you. So when you're trying to people please or fawn or whatever it is that you're trying to do, that's not the truth of who you are and what you're really trying to contribute. When you're upset about something or your anger speaking, listen to it. But as women, we are so afraid of our anger. We are so terrified to let ourselves experience this emotion. And like I say, at different events, I spoke at the Kids Are Kids event in Atlanta several months ago, and I had walked the attendees through an exercise that your emotions, if you can envision it like you're standing at the ocean, right? So right there where the tide comes in with the sand and your feet are firmly in the sand, and you let that emotion of anger wash over your feet, and then it goes right back into the ocean. It doesn't stay there. The wave goes right back. And so in the same way that the wave goes right back, your anger is not going to stay washed over you forever. If you let yourself feel anger, you're not going to feel angry forever. When we feel the emotion, we feel like, I'm always going to feel like this. It's not true. The emotion passes. And so winning in the dark in this context really involves finding the constructive ways to address and resolve issues without letting this anger negatively impact our relationships and the school community. So what are some ways of what it looks like to win in the dark around anger? Mindfulness practices. High stress situations trigger anger and frustration. And so what it looks like to win in the dark around your anger is introducing mindfulness practices for yourself to promote emotional regulation. Now, I have so many different episodes on emotional regulation, which we can link here in the comments as well. But incorporating short mindfulness sessions into staff meetings to cultivate calm, right? To cultivate that culture of mindfulness, of calmness, maintaining composure. Again, the more you practice it, the more your body remembers this is how we get to a state of calm. So that when you feel angry, pissed off, frustrated, resentful, whatever, your body actually has a template to remember, how do I get myself into a state of calm? How do I get myself back to a state of emotional regulation? Another way that we win in the dark in relation to our anger is overwhelming workloads contribute to a lot of anger and frustration. So when we have excessive workloads, when we are working too much, or we have too much on our plate, or we are over functioning, we are overcommitted, we are holding way too much mental load, we're the ones that's carrying the whole project. It gets us angry, really, really angry. Listen to it. Listen to that anger, and then let's go win it. How do we win in the dark with our anger? Number one, we conduct a workload assessment. This is one of the things that I do inside of our Owners HQ and our legacy program. It's called percentage priorities. It is a very specific assessment that I work through, exercise that I work with our clients where they identify the areas of how they can distribute responsibilities more equitably amongst their leadership team. And so they're doing a workload assessment so that they can actually not have excessive workload. So this comes before delegation. I know a lot of times when leaders hear things like, I'm so overworked. Okay, delegate. What do I delegate, right? We are so pissed that we have so much on our plate. We just start delegating all stupid nonsense. And we actually start delegating the wrong things. You create the boomerang effect, all this stuff. And this isn't an episode on delegation, so I don't want to go into that. But winning in the dark around your anger when it comes to excessive workload is conducting workload assessments. And if you're interested in this workload assessment, where you can actually understand how to distribute responsibilities equitably amongst your work environment, I'd love to invite you to apply to our Owners HQ program, to our Directors Inner Circle. Let's have a conversation. And those assessments and diagnostics exist inside of our membership. Another way that you can win in the dark in relation to your anger around excessive workload is listening to, how do I create more harmony between my work and my life? So it's very interesting, actually. Mayor and I have this commitment that we make to ourselves that every single week we have to make sure that we're prioritizing our hobbies, our things that we love to do outside of our other roles. So outside of being a father, a husband, a brother, a sibling, Mayor runs his own business, all those things. What does he do for himself, just for who he is? And then what do I do for myself? And the reason why this is so important is because if our work days and our weeks are only centered around work and meeting with team and meeting with clients. And what does this person need from me? What does this person need from me? And then my kids need something from me, and this person needs something, and everyone needs something. And then I need to make time for my marriage and my this and all the things. Okay, but what about me? What about just me? And then we start to get really pissed off at nonsense. So what happens is, this is how you can know if you're stepping into the arena of being angry and pissed off. Little things start to bother you. So little things like, I don't know, there's like a piece of trash on the floor and it's like sends you into like a tizzy. Or your child asked you for cream cheese instead of peanut butter and you're ready to blow the top at them, right? When you start getting angry in the morning, in the evening, you're getting frustrated at the traffic circle or, a new traffic pattern, and you're like banging your steering wheel and you're like, oh my God. When you are finding yourself in a lot of anger and that kind of emotion, it is time to assess if you have not prioritized you doing something for you, just because you like it, not because it's good for the kids or it's good for your marriage or it's good for the business. Where we always try to like maximize. Oh, you should do this because when you take a massage, it makes you calm and then you're calm for your family. I don't care. I don't care to be calm for my family. I need to do something for me now. Whether it's beneficial for anyone else, I don't care. You need to do things for you, not because they benefit a million other people. You have to understand 99.9% of what you do is benefiting other people. So yes, permission to take 1% of your life and do things selfishly just because you like them, not because it benefits anyone else, just because you like it. I love to play guitar. Not because it makes the world a better place, not because my kids like it, not because Mayor likes it, not because I don't care. I like it. I like to play guitar. Now, do I also play guitar to my kids sometimes in the evening before I put them to bed? Absolutely. Yossi loves it. But I did not play guitar because I wanted to play goodnight songs to my kids because they like it. No. I chose to play guitar because I wanted to learn how to play an instrument. Me. I wanted to learn how to do that. So it was really the reason I started this whole thing was because we actually had a particular challenging couple of weeks ago. And each of us had actually not prioritized the one thing that we like to do, like our own personal hobbies. And we're going out to go do something as a family. And Mayor was getting really frustrated about something and I was getting upset about it. And like, it was just, it was so much tension. And then we ended up diffusing it. We went out with the family, we came back. And then that night we were kind of revisiting that whole experience. And Mayor's like, tomorrow going fishing. I'm like, great. And then we were like talking about it and he's like, I'm going to go. He has this fun place that he likes to go to, this trail near Boca that he likes to go to. And they have like a fishing pond over there. And he was like, I realized that the reason I was getting so frustrated about all these little things that were happening was because I actually haven't gone on any of my walks or gone into nature or gone fishing or done anything that I like to do in the last couple of weeks. And when we paused and reflected, we realized we actually both have not prioritized that. And that's why we were getting into all of those like just little stupid things. And it was so beautiful to, reconnect with that again. I share with you all these personal examples because I know you see yourself in it. I know that if you're listening to this episode and you've listened until now, you have hobbies that you've wanted to engage in. You have other parts of yourself, other creative parts of yourself that need fueling. And when you fuel those parts, your anger and your resentment will not be as strong. And so winning in the dark with your anger is pursuing a hobby, even if it feels like a waste of time. And I'm doing air quotes. Or, oh my gosh, it's so much money. Again, air quotes. Or I don't have time to do that. I have to go build the next, 4 locations. You don't have time not to do that. Because you do have time to get pissed. Well, guess what? Then you also have time to go paint. If you have time to get angry, you have time to go on that walk. Choose what you're going to do. All right, let's go a little bit further. What are some other ways that leaders can win in the dark in relation to their anger? Boundary setting. encouraging your own leaders on your leadership team to establish boundaries regarding communication and response time. You set your own boundaries, right? Setting expectations around when you'll respond, what time you'll respond, when people expect a response. That prevents burnout and allows you also to be more measured and calculated and thoughtful in the way you respond. One of the policies that I created inside of my organization is when we send emails, we leave them in draft mode for 24 hours. When we send outbound client emails or things like that. And the reason for that is because after we send the email, we want it to sit and marinate in the draft mode, because when we come back the next day, we will have a different emotion and a different experience around it. And that is us boundary setting to honor our company value of legendary service. We have a company value of legendary service. We want to serve our clients at the highest level. And guess what? We're people. We have emotions. We experience things. Our clients are people. They're experience things. Sometimes then they send emails that they regret or had a little bit too much emotion or whatever it is. Before we reply, we want to make sure we're honoring our values. And so they sit in draft mode. That is one way that we honor our boundaries. So let's wrap up this series here. The concept of winning in the dark is critical for school leaders because it not only allows you to weather the storms of leadership, but it really helps you understand how to build an endurance mindset around creating a thriving educational community. And the rewards of learning how to win in the dark are personal fulfillment, your own growth, and the creation of lasting impact on the lives of the people that you are privileged to lead and to serve. And when we think of winning in the dark, of making those strategic and often very unnoticed, underappreciated decisions, know that they profoundly impact the school and you're leaving a legacy for generations. Thank you so much for joining me for this entire series. I hope that it resonated. I hope it struck a chord with you deeply. And if you are feeling like you want to share, I would love to hear from you. If you want to reply to us in our inbox, cw@chanie.me, or send us a DM on Facebook or Instagram, I'd love to hear what most resonated with you about this series. Again, thanks so much for joining us. Take care. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week. And I appreciate that you have joined us. If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.